Alright, Glenn Sutphin here with Get the News Straight, and I'm with correspondent Nathaniel Sutphin, who found a video that he found very disturbing and wants to talk about it.
Yeah, because me and most everyone else of the news has been on this topic recently. Uh, if you haven't heard about Daddy05, then it's a supposed prank channel where the parents pull practical jokes with their kids and vlog their life. They're well, I don't feel bad saying it because it's all over the news. They're a Maryland family who, from what I've seen, though CPS may have other words for it, I view it as abuse coming from a background where I have seen such things occur. The kids have been one kid in particular, one of the youngest, Cody, 9-year-old, has been thrown in on video, thrown into a bookshelf, got a nosebleed. He has been thrown across the room. He has Several of the kids have had live loaded guns pointed at them, all because of pranks. And the list goes on, including Cody, even though the screen is a bit derpy, getting held down by one of his bigger brothers because they were in a fight and then got kicked in the balls by his father. And, well, hopefully you can see it. Hi, Phil. This kid, god dang it, could never be simple, being held down and kicked by his own father. And apparently people view that as humor nowadays, even though that's, like, abuse. Other textbook signs of the abuse include Stockholm Syndrome, which they think this abuse is perfectly fine, getting live guns pointed at them, hurt, and abused both physically with the kicking, verbally with being cursed out like a sailor every other thing they do, sometimes for no provocation other than just getting views on YouTube. And psychologically, like I said, with Stockholm Syndrome, they think it's perfectly fine to do it. And I just find it the most horrible thing that people find that funny. At least, 750,000 subscribers do anyway. I just, I saw it. I watched Phil DeFranco's video, who did a pretty good job summarizing it, and I sent it to Glenn because it needed to be told.
And,
So,
you have some background, and you had kind of wanted to get into that, so why don't we,
get into that.
yeah, get into it. Tell everybody what was going on from your point of view.
From Chuckatuck,
Yeah.
it was elementary school. I had been, I had the power had gone out recently, and our next door neighbor wanted to use the shower because she had work. She saw a camera in the bathroom, which was not there to videotape me while I was in the bathroom and create anything sexual. It was more to make sure that I didn't trip and fall in the bathtub.
And for my safety, too, for having seizures and stuff like that, which we don't need to really go into that detail. Just go into the
Well,
background of what you wanted to.
well, sure enough, CPS gets called and contacts thrown out the window. And basically, the CPS decided, hey, there may or may not be an issue here, but we're going to treat it like it's the utmost issue, even though there hasn't been evidence to prove it. So, okay, normal situation, fine, I'd give it to them, fine. They couldn't even check a 2257. They couldn't even check the paperwork that says, no, I don't do this thing that you're claiming me of doing. And then they illegally, well, at least I would assume illegally, come into the school, order to speak with me one-on-one with no other eyewitnesses, and basically, from my point of view, from what I remember, of course this is many years ago, basically told me that my parents were horrible people and I should not respect them at all. Which is really great to tell, like, a third grader? Something like that?
Yeah, you were 9.
I was
About
9,
9-ish.
and that's an amazing thing to tell a kid, especially when the person that's telling me this, later on I learn, was a child abuser himself.
And a
And a
pedophile.
pedophile and all
And
of
got
that.
thrown in jail, and yeah.
So it's just amazing to me that this sort of thing occurs. But sure enough, they worry too much on some cases and not enough on others, even though, to be fair, they are trying to build evidence for it, so they're working on it.
On this case.
On this case here. I mean, it's even written in the Fox 5 DC News that they're covering it. And, of course, once the heat got applied to them, they started taking down videos. They started hiding all the frickin' evidence. And, of course, YouTube, hey, YouTube, thank you. You're actually doing your job somewhat and holding on to your community guidelines. You took down something that needed to be taken down. Thank you. Could you keep doing it? But, yeah, because of my issues with the CPS in the past, I was slightly enraged with this case. Not to mention that I have been contacted by sexual harassers of children on Facebook, which led to that whole chapter with Glenn. So yeah, I felt strongly for this case, and I thought that the link should have been provided and brought to people's attention. Because, to be honest, it needs to be dealt with. Because I don't want this to become the new norm of videotaping a child's abuse for your own benefit.
Yeah.
That's torture.
And getting back to our situation, there was zero evidence. Nothing was presented but a bunch of lies made up by a person that they came in and they did all this stuff. But yet, as you showed in that video, they beat the kid up, kick him in the balls,
and
do
it's
everything.
Recorded.
And it's, oh, don't worry about it, there's no problem here.
Because it's like, this poor kid here, Cody, is just the butt of, like, I'd give it 85% of their pranks, or at least the really damning ones, and it's just perfectly fine. I mean, they have hundreds of thousands of views on their videos, but yet,
Yeah, say it. Say what you want, man.
It's just amazing that sort of thing can go viral, blow up, everyone wants to watch it. And yet, people who are actually trying to make the world a better place get crapped on time and time and time and time again. It's just a little disheartening, you know?
Yeah.
And I would, if I wasn't so just drained of anger at this point and just filled with empty frickin' pus at it, I'd be a lot more vocal. But I can't. For me, trying to keep a balanced view of it, I can't let myself get into this because I will say things I don't want to say.
Well, I think you're doing pretty good in what you brought up and bringing it to my attention, and we'll bring it to the viewing audience and Fedbook audience.
We'll bring it to the world, and the world can decide. I will let people have their own views, because I am biased at the moment. I am way off the deep end at the second. So, I just thought everyone should know.
Because it affected you personally, because you went through something similar. Not
I wasn't going through this exact case.
You weren't going through abuse or anything like that. You were picked out of at random, basically, because of a bunch of fucking lies. And
meanwhile, her own kid gets left alone for weeks at a time, could vandalize local property, can just run havoc, and he's perfectly fine. But me, the kid who's trying not to get in trouble and just stay out of people's way, is suddenly the biggest issue. Now, mind you, this kid was abused to the point that he threatened me and my family when I was still a kid, and threatening to kill us. Which I know wouldn't happen because my dad, but that wreaks havoc on a kid's mentality, you know? So yeah, I'm slightly biased in this, but just, if you can, just give this your attention. Even if it's just sending views to Phil DeFranco, or sending it to more and more people so people hear about it so something gets done. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good considering you're hyper about it and everything, and it's well worth looking into. So
I mean, Glenn saw me when I first saw it and walked out of my room, he saw I was just messed up. I was messed up in the head, and I still kind of am, because it's just all sorts of screwed up that someone who has no issues and didn't cause any alarms, they get picked up and instantly they're going to try to do something. But this, they look, they go, okay, we'll try something, and then just But hey, they're looking back into it, they're building up evidence because people like you are looking into it. So thank you for giving us the time to speak with you.
Oh, no problem, mate. And keep up on it. I know you've been following it, and let me know if there's any more
I'll be posting on the
updates.
pages if I find anything that's really worth it, and I'll be posting the Fox 5 DC page so people can look into it there, and also set up the Phil DeFranco video so that way we can get it to those two major sources.
Send it to me, and then we'll put it on out there. All right. Well, thank you for bringing this to my attention, mate.
And thank you for giving me a bit of time to let it out.
Okay.
Well, you all have a wonderful evening. This has been Get the News Straight.
Yep.
Correspondent Nathaniel Sutphin, signing off.
And Glenn Sutphin signing off.